Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we'll be talking about the game that happened a few days ago and everybody was watching this game. It's between Korea and China during the Kaksu Mountains International Baduk Championship. So this is the final, and the final only has one game. So whoever wins this game becomes the champion. It's between Wang Xinghao 9P from China and Sungjoon. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Sungjoon 9P. Sungjoon, maybe it's not that well known among the Go communities here. He is a 34-year-old professional player, 9-dan professional, and is currently ranked number 5 in Korea. So definitely, if he can make it to the final, he's insanely strong. Wang Xinghao is playing as black, and An Sung-joon is playing as white. And the game starts out like this, right? Very typical double 3-4 versus double star, and black takes very solid corner enclosure. White approaches, black plays the Kosumi, white 2-space extension, very common. And now black approaches, white pincers, and black takes the remaining 3-3. White blocks, and they played out a very common Joseki. White now goes for the pincer, right? You can more or less say this is a extension and also pincer. Yeah, so this, what's great about this extension is that it has a follow-up that to peep at, black shape over here. So against this move, black decides to kick, white extends, and black plays the Keima. So Wang Xinghao decides to play this move. It looks very small, but it's actually insanely big. Because if you just play somewhere else, later on white can attack this corner by playing the 2-space extension. So black wanted to prevent that. Here, another option to kind of deal with the situation is for black to play more active, right? So the idea is that we're expanding our top left, but also putting pressure on white's 3 stones. So if white's 3 stones are pressured, then it's not so easy for white to attack our corner, right? So it's basically we're trying to exploit our opponent's weakness to fix our own weakness, which is a pretty advanced tactic, or not tactic, but idea in the game of Go. But of course, in this early game, anything would work, and you wouldn't lose much win rate. So this was also a good move. White now plays the AI move. Black blocks on top, and here white decides to play another AI move. This is a very common follow-up for white. Because a lot of my viewers might be thinking, well, isn't playing the Keima the follow-up? The reason you don't want to play the Keima is because black still has this way to get into your corner. So at the end of the day, if you just end up playing something like this, then black can capture the corner. Black doesn't have to connect back, right? So we all know this this Joseki where this happens, and then white blocks and black captures. And we can see that black still managed to get a huge corner, and our stones are very inefficient. So this is not a good position for white. That's why the correct follow-up is to play what white played in the game. The Kosumi in the corner. Very territorial, very solid, very good move. Here black comes back to pressure white's 3 stones. White now jumps in the center, expanding himself and also suppressing black's moyo. Black jumps, and white decides to deal with the 3 stones over here, because black already has a lot of stones. And here, this is a very good exercise if you want to pause the video, like as to how you want to play as black. Because we all know that next move, white is going to try this. When you block, white has a Hane over here. And this is making black very awkward, right? Black doesn't want to play a move like this. This is just super inefficient. But if you just block, white has a double Atari, right? So now black is in a very bad spot. So here, if you play the extension, which is, I think a lot of amateur level players would make this mistake. The reason this is not a good move is that this is not the most efficient way of fixing your weakness. Now look at what black played in the actual game. Black did extended on the second line. This is a very good move for territory, and also in terms of getting rid of the roots that white has, but also in the meantime, it fixes the problem that we were talking about. So this is the correct fix versus if you extend on top, that would be a mistake. All right. So now white decides to follow up locally here. This is a very common follow-up for white. And black decides to play the Keima. I really like this move. Maybe here white could also think about playing like this because it expands himself a little bit and also connect with the top. But of course, for professional players like them, territory matters so much, right? Like This move is great looking, but it doesn't really get any points, right? Which is why I think white's move in the game is slightly better than what I suggested like over here. But of course, since you didn't take that, then black is going to hop out and look at your weaknesses on both sides. White hops out, very nice shape move. And now black decides to press white. White has to hop out. And black plays another Keima. Very beautiful sequence by Wang Xinghao. Really taking the initiative and attacking white. White hops out. And here black, because there's no easy way to effectively attack this group yet, because white is quite slippery and there's a lot of ice space. So black decides to give it a break and attack the stone over here. White plays the Kosumi and black hops towards the center. So yes, locally white is able to control the stone temporarily, but when black plays the big Keima, we can see that these two stones are under attack. So here we should definitely learn from Sungjoon on how to deal with this group. The idea is to play the tiger's mouth. This is a little counterintuitive, especially if you're a high dan level player, because usually we want to play light, right? You're probably thinking, oh, maybe I can play like this, right? And if black plays here, then we'll find some other ways to just like hop out or something like that. That would be the first thing that comes to your mind. But actually here the correct move is for white to play the tiger's mouth. The idea is to not make white heavy, rather, yes, I mean the tiger's mouth is making itself heavy, but it's also pressuring black's corner. So this is the idea of counterattack. We are being attacked. Because if black tries to now attack from the outside, for example, then there's a lot of problems. White can attach into black and try to make a base here. White can block over here. This is also a very good follow-up. It's looking at the Aji in the corner. So if black plays a move to fix the Aji, then we can attach here again, right? So we can see that white will definitely have some ice space. First of all, white will gain ice space by attaching into black, but also there's a jump over here, right? Later on, right? Of course, white will attach here first, but later on, even if white plays one space extension, it's looking at connecting back with the main group, right? And black is quite weak over here. So it's not easy to catch white at all. That's why white plays the tiger's mouth, which is a correct move. In the actual game, black plays a one space jump, a very solid move, tries to protect some territory, also strengthen the corner. White blocks and black peeps. White blocks on top. That's a very well played move. So here white doesn't want to connect. If you connect, then white actually becomes very heavy. Even if black plays a one space extension, now white is probably in serious trouble just because of that exchange alone. On the other hand, when white plays the block, in the actual game, black did not pull the stone back. But if black pulls the stone back, we can see that at this point when white exchanged this move, we can see that this exchange of turning versus black pulling the stone back, it's a really good exchange for white. Now, if black plays the same thing again, then white can probably use the attach to get out. Or even just play like this, and then I don't see an obvious way for black to catch white. So that's the difference, right, between directly connecting and resisting on top. Very well played by white. In the actual game, black harness. So here, black cannot cut, right? And the reason black cannot cut is actually not obvious, because white has a very smart sequence here. White can play the clamp. White can play the net. Well, it looks like it doesn't work for white, right? Black can push down, but this is a very typical and epic example of sacrifice. White can extend on the second line. Black blocks, white blocks on the second line, and here black doesn't have any time to do anything else than capturing the three stones, because black only has two liberties. White Atari, black takes, and white connects on top. And if the game actually plays out like this, then black can pretty much resign. The reason is that black spent so many moves just to capture the three stones. The corner already belonged to black to start with, but then we can see that white has zero weakness, pierced through like the entire moyo, and also making sure that these two stones are totally broken. So that cannot happen in the final of a tournament. In the actual game, black harness first, and that makes all the difference. When white blocks, here black can cut, because if white plays the Atari once again, black can now run. Now, thanks to the exchange, white has to connect. Black turns, white Atari, and if white decides to sacrifice in this way, this would be the time for white to resign, actually, because when white connects, black can cut on top. Right? So at this point, white cannot fix both weaknesses at once, right? And the consequences of being cut means that these stones are pretty much in trouble, like pretty much dead. And that's game over because black is gaining too much. So when black cuts, white decides to Atari on the second line. Black Atari and Atari, white connects. And here black plays the block on the second line. This is the first mistake by Wang Xinghao in this game. What he should have played is to Atari over here and control the stone over here. Right? This would be a much better way of playing. If white extends, then black would block here. And now it's white needs to figure out how to live basically in here, probably by jumping over here and then going towards the outside. But anyway, the point is, black was able to protect the center and let white live underneath. And that would be an equal position. Well, in the actual game, when black plays the Hane, white decides to immediately attach, which is not the accurate way to punish black. The correct move is for white to actually peep here first. When black connects, then white will attach into the corner. Black Atari, white bumps into black, black captures, and we can see that, yes, black managed to gain the center. However, there's a really weird exchange that black made over here, right? White peeps here and black connected. And this stone actually has a lot of value. Even if white later on just pulls the stone back, we see there's a lot of value in terms of destroying the moyo. And white is already alive. So it's a sente for white, and white left a very annoying stone inside black. This would be a better position for white. In the actual game, white decides to live the corner. Black Atari, white extends, black connects, and white extends on the second line. Here, black plays the block, and white plays the peep here, forcing black to connect. So Sungjoon managed to get this peep anyway. However, this is not going to be a sente for white because of the life and death situation in the corner. Now, here, if white decides to Tanuki locally, that would be a disaster. For example, if white plays this move, which is really something that white wants to play, to control the stone. Here, this is a very famous life and death problem. You can pause the video and think about it if you want to practice your life and death skills. Here, black can Hane. White cuts, and black simply extends. So the extension is an absolute sente because black is going to Atari the next move. So white has to squeeze black's liberty, and here black has a Tsuji, that is to play the squeeze at 2-2. If white Atari, then black will extend. White Atari, black Atari, white captures, and black plays to throw in. And we can see that there's no way to ever capture the two stones because white cannot fill in from either side. So this is black kills the entire white corner, right? If white plays the Atari on the other side, then black will simply extend at the 2-1. And it's more or less the same problem. White connects, black blocks. And white cannot fill in either direction. So also black kills white. If you want to dive deeper and support what I'm doing, check out my Patreon. I regularly post exclusive high-quality content on Joseki's, pro game breakdowns, and even full courses. Stuff you won't find anywhere else. The link is in the description. Thanks so much. Let's continue. In the actual game, white did not make a basic mistake and just defended the corner. That's a correct move to play. And black decides to play a very solid move to prevent white from Ataring here. The extension is a very solid move. Protects all the moyo. Now white comes back to block here. White pushes, black pushes, white blocks. And black has to play the Hane connect. This is an absolute must-play move. And white, its correct move is to play the Keima, right? These days, no one would play the Tiger's Mouth anymore. It's just too slow. We want more efficient AI move like this. So here, Wang Xinghao decides to push the stone out, right? Because white didn't really spend an extra move to protect this rebellion, against this rebellion. Yeah, so this move is really good. The idea is not necessarily trying to live the two stones. Rather, it's to cause trouble and create aji and then get compensation from the fighting. White Hanes, black cuts, and white extends. Black also extends, and white plays out the Kosumi, and the fight gets quite complicated here. Black blocks on top, and white comes back to prevent this squeeze Atari by squeezing black here. In the actual game, Wang Xinghao decides to play this move, which I think it's an okay move, but it's not the best move. The idea, obviously, is for black to just come into white's moyo and break this moyo. But here, what black should have done is to extend the stone. If black extends the stone, this makes this group having a lot more liberties, and therefore there's going to be a liberty fight here. Now, the liberty fight is very complicated in here, so I'm going to show just a branch variation from AI, which I think is very interesting. White connects, black squeezes, and white connects. Black jumps towards the corner. This is threatening to live, so white has to block that. And here black has a Tsuji on the first line, trying to connect back. White has to prevent that, and black blocks. White extends onto the first line, black blocks on top, and white plays the Kosumi. The idea is not for white to try to fight the group over here. Rather, it's for white to try to fight the group over here. So, black cuts, white pushes, and then we can see that white has a very smart sequence to get home. Black Atari, white plays the crawl, and black captures the stone. White Atari, black blocks, and because of the liberty problems, white has to add another move in a corner, making sure that this group won't connect and die. So we can see at the end of this variation, this is black's black's move. So black gets the sente out of this variation, and black managed to sacrifice the 5 stones. It looks terrible on the surface, but actually these 5 stones has a lot of value, because now black can go for black can make use of these stones to start invasion here. Right? Instead of playing an invasion over here, which is quite passive, black can go way deeper this time, thanks to the stones over here. We're looking at the Hane, and so white has to be very careful, right? Like if you allow black to do this kind of stuff, it's going to be a problem. So yeah, likely white is going to play here, and then black plays a 1-space jump. We can see that because of this exchange, black's group here is quite, there's a lot of vitality to this group right now. And it's not possible for white to kill black over here. So that's the idea behind the sacrifice, which is insanely hard to read out for any player in the real game under so much stress. Alright, in the actual game, Wang Xinghao decides to play something he understood by invading right away. White plays out the Kosumi, black blocks, white extends, and here black simply comes back to control the stone. White obviously spends another move to make sure black is killed here, and black jumps into white's territory. Here, maybe a more accurate move is for black to exchange this move first, forcing white to come back and then hop down. When black plays the hop directly, there's a problem according to AI, and this shows you AI is just another level. Here, white can play the peep here. If black blocks, then we can see that black will never get the chance to squeeze here, because if ever you squeeze over here, then all of your stones here just look very bad, right? For example, I'm just illustrating this, right? This stone is completely useless right now because of white's peep over here. And that's the idea from AI. I find this idea to be very advanced and very nice to present, so I'm presenting here. But of course, in the actual game, these are human players, not AI. So none of the players realize that there's a shape problem like this. White plays the Hane, that's an absolute sente, and now white plays the 2-space extension, pincering black. Black attaches in a way, following the principle of attaching your opponent, and then plays out the 2-space extension, making a very nice base. White bumps into black, and black plays the attach into the corner. So if white simply played a Hane, it's possible, but Sungjoon did not want that to happen, right? Because this is like later on gives the opportunity for black to pull the stone back. So right now black can simply extend, and later on there's this very annoying second line extension. In the actual game, Sungjoon played extremely well here, This is a very unconventional looking move. In most cases, this would be a bad move, but in today's game, this is actually a very nice move. Black plays the exchange first, and then block on the second line. The reason this was a good move is because now white can counterattack by playing the peep on the second line. Black connects, white harness, and black harness into the corner to live the corner. White harness and black extends, white connects, and black plays out the Tetsuji to live. This is usually for my viewers who are watching, who want to, a lot of times you would just like connect here, and that would be terrible because you didn't really live, right? White can hane and hane, right? This is not really alive for black. So when we face this type of situation where we absolutely want to live, the best move is to extend on the first line. Now, if white wants to kill, white has to go for this. When black connects, then white has to go into the 1-1, and then we get into this situation. Well, the good part about playing like this is that black has a bigger eye, right? So we know that black is not alive, but black has a bigger eye. So whenever you go into a liberty fight, this is gonna help out a lot. And also, and also you have like a stone over here, right? This stone could, well, it doesn't help out in this case, but a lot of times when you have a stone on the first line and a stone on the first line, it could help out the fight on the outside. That's why when you want to live in this shape, you always want to extend on the first line. All right, so white obviously doesn't have the strength to kill black yet. If you go for a kill, black can connect here and run out. So white needs to do some prep work by first cutting black off here. Black pushes on top and white bumps into black. This is a very big mistake by Sungjoon. The correct move is for white to simply Atari here. This looks like less efficient than what white play. Like, I mean, what's going on here if white plays out like this? Black cannot Atari. But black later on has a very sneaky Tetsuji here. That is the cut here, which we'll talk about in details later on. So white plays out the bump, and this is going to really hurt later on. All right, black finally comes back to live the group. And white now hops towards the center, making sure the moyo is controlled. Black jumps towards the center, white peeps, and black plays out a kind of an endgame move. Also, like if black is under time pressure, then this would be a very nice time Suji as well. This is pretty much 2 Boyomi. Okay, so after the exchange, black comes back to connect the weakness, and white hops out. Very intuitive move, right? We don't want to be capped inside. Black also jumps, and white now plays the attach, trying to create problems here for black. Black pushes through, white bumps into black. So here white can also connect underneath. The problem is that Wang Xinghao did not really like the fact that, An Sungjoon did not really like the fact that black can play out this fight. Black extends, white pushes back, and black hanes. White connects, black connects. And we can see that this connect is a sente, and therefore black will have no problem fighting here. It's playable, but An Sungjoon did not like this variation, so he chose a counter-attack variation instead of passively defending. And here, Wang Xinghao plays out the hane, and this is a big reason why black is now falling behind into late game. The correct move is for black to simply extend down and protect the corner territory, and then we worry about the problem on top. In the actual game, when Wang Xinghao plays the hane, the problem is the territory. White gets to Atari the stone here. This is a very important stone to capture because later on, white can squeeze black's corner, and that's going to be a lot of territory. Black Atari, and white jumps on the second line, a very nice move, getting rid of black's eye space. Black peeps white, white connects, and black has to play the Kosumi here. So if black rushes to like protect this group, then white can play Kosumi and block, and this is too painful for black to deal with. Because this is a carpenter square with a missing stone, likely black has to play another move inside his own territory, which is very miserable. So no matter what happens over here, black has to get the Kosumi first, making sure his corner is comfortable. Now, because of the cutting point issues, white decides to play another move to protect the shape, and black hops into the center. White now pushes. This is a very desirable move because if black gets to play here, then we can see that this all turned into territory. So white is really like leaving this group and just pushing through here, making sure that black cannot get the territory. And black plays out the block over here. So here black has a better variation to play than this one. That is for black to actually peep here first. When white connects, black now plays the turn over here, expanding the corner territory, but also looking at white's weaknesses. Now, when black blocked here, he was worried about white push and cut. Now, when white pushes and cut, this obviously will become a fight, but because the fact that black spends a move over here, it means that white's center is also very insecure. So black can go for weakness for weakness type of idea, right? When black runs, white also has to worry about the security. So black is not in such grave danger. That's a more active way to deal with the cutting point. In the actual game, black played very passive by blocking here, and black is falling behind. White now pushes towards the center, and black blocks. White extends. So the idea is for white to try to kill the group over here, but of course that's not going to happen because black is still fine, still has enough eye space. White plays the Kosumi, black turns, and white blocks. Black now plays out Hane, white extends, and black blocks on top, preventing the jump. White plays a testing move in a corner, black pushes, white captures, and black attach in the corner. So this move didn't really do much, except making like this Atari Ascente. But in terms of points, it didn't really gain much for white. And white plays another, this is pretty much a time Suji at this point, right? This move is not, it's kind of random because we know the fight is happening in the center. So it gives the player more time to think about the situation. Black has to play a move. If black plays the extension, this would be a blunder because the way to kill the corner, white can simply squeeze here and black is in trouble, right? If black plays the tiger's mouth, this is the famous big pig mouth where white can push and play the peep here. Very typical life and death problem. Black takes back, white throws in, and there's no way for black to live. I'll leave that to, I guess I'll just play it out, right? Like if you play here, I can connect. When you try the Atari, I can have the throw in. So this is a clean death. There's not even a ko. Okay, so obviously 9-dan professionals don't make simple mistakes like that. Black plays the jump, live the corner. White pushes, black Hane, and white clamps on top. Black has to connect, and now white plays a move in the center. This is a very sneaky move. The idea is not to protect white's weakness, rather it's looking at how to kill black here. Now, if white just goes directly for the kill, then white was worried about the wedge and connect. We can see that white's outside is very weak, and therefore it's very difficult to kill black. So Sungjoon read everything out here and decides to do a preparation move. This is aiming at killing black, and black has to respond by defending the group over here. White now cuts, and black decides to Tanuki. After this exchange, black is very safe, because if white now tries to kill, then black can block on top. This is a Sente. We're looking at the laddering the white 2 stones. White has to defend, and black can simply extend like this, and this is clean alive. We can see that black can live like this. This is a bend 4, so black has no problem. In the actual game, white connects, and black plays a very beautiful shape move to try to connect top to bottom. White bumps into black, and here we see the consequences. So this is a very big move, right? Like if ever black gets this move, for example, then these 2 stones are dead, and black's group here is very safe. But because of the center weaknesses, black had to spend a move to connect top to bottom. Otherwise, there's problems over here. There's connection issues. So black had to play this move, allows white to play here. Normally, this would be a very, very severe problem for black, but black has a Tsuji here because of the mistake that white played previously. This was a very big mistake, actually. So now, when black cuts, white had to play the tiger's mouth. If white plays the Atari, then black has this problem over here. Black in Atari, white takes, and black comes back and prevent this cutting point. The idea of preventing the cutting point is that this becomes a miai, right? So we're looking at the cutting here. If white fixed the cutting point, then black can connect over here. And this is going to be a huge problem for Wei, right? If you allow these 4 guys to escape, then your whole thing is in trouble. So Wei cannot allow that to happen. But of course, if you capture here, then black can cut like this, right? There's no way for these 3 stones to escape. Means that black is out with a lot of points, which is also not acceptable for white. That's why in the actual game, white is forced to play the tiger's mouth and black plays the crawl. And we can see that this is not only big in terms of territory, but also this stone is dead. And well, this stone is not dead, but white won't save it like this, right? Because this is Sente for black now. So next up, if black Atari, then this stone is dead, which means that black is safe and with territory, right? This was the consequences of you playing here earlier. All right, next up, white decides to challenge black center. Black blocks, white pushes, black honeys, white connects, and black pulls the stone back. Looks like there's some connection issues, but temporarily black can hold. Now white pushes in the center, black has to connect. If black plays the tiger's mouth, then obviously there's a peep, and this is a deadly peep, right? It's looking at cutting on both sides. When black connects, white will cut through, and then black is going to have serious problem. In the actual game, black connects, white pushes through, black turns, white turns, and black plays the Kosumi to get back home. White now threatens the life and death of black. Black extends in the center, that's a Sente. White has to play the bamboo. And now, after this exchange, black is already alive, right? And then black has to play an extra move here. The reason is because there's a cutting point. Now the idea for black to connect is that if white tries to cut here, then black will Atari here and connect through this direction. So it becomes a miai of connection, means that black is connected. Next up, white keeps going, just coming into black's territory. This looks very awkward for black. Black has to block over here to make sure he's connected. And now white comes back to take an endgame. This is not only an endgame, but this is also threatening life and death once again. Black has to connect. If black plays the double Atari, that'll be falling into a trap because white can Atari. If you take, then white can kill black here, right? So locally black is dead, and outside there's no problem. White can defend like this, and this is going to be white kills black. All right, so in the actual game, black simply connects, that's the correct move to play, and white pushes into black's territory. Black clamps, white blocks, black Atari, and white connects. This is all must-play moves. And finally, black comes back and block this, right? Because when white plays the Kosumi once again, this is a lot of points. So black wanted to defend that. And then white comes back to fix the double Atari. This is a lot of points. Black now pulls the stone back here to threaten the connection issues that white has. White connects. And black now plays the squeeze over here. And here comes the most important moment in this game, and this is where I spend a little bit of time talking about this endgame, because this moment decided the whole game. At this point, both players made some minor mistakes and inaccuracies here and there, and this is a leading game for white, right? If white answers everything correctly, then white is probably going to win this game by either 1.5 points, or if he plays a slight inaccuracy, probably a 0.5 point game. But this moment is crucial, and it shows you how hard the game of Go is. Like sometimes, especially after watching this game, I just feel like it's so impossibly hard, this game. Because for most humans, it is so natural to just connect here, which is what white played. And this ends up to be a losing move. And that's the crazy part. Before connecting here, white's win rate is like 93. When white connects here, it becomes 6 or 7%. That's how much swing this move, that looks very obvious, very natural, like kind of like a must-play move, it ends up to be a losing move. And I find it to be super unfortunate for Sungjoon in this game, because the mistake is so hidden. The correct move here for white to play is to double Hane here. And it's so hard to play this move in an actual game. I can tell you that. It's just so hard to find this move. the reason white plays the Hane is that it doesn't matter what black plays next. White is going to rely on the fact that he has so many co-threats on the outside. So let's check it out. So where are white's co-threats? First of all, this corner has some co-threats. White will make use of the corner and create some co-threats. This group has life and death issues. Therefore, squeeze over here would be a co-threat. And then there's a bunch of co-threats here. White also has co-threats trying to threaten the corner here. So combined, white has so many co-threats on the outside that white has to play this move, which looks like a ridiculous overplay. But actually, this is the must-play move, right? So I'm just very impressed and amazed by the game of Go. Is that you have to be so precise with your moves, especially when you're playing against a 9-dan professional. If black cuts, then white will start a co. And this is not good for black because black will end up losing these 2 stones because black doesn't have enough co-threats. If black blocks over here, white will also just rely on the fact that he has more co-threats to bully black. Now black is in a tough spot. White will fight this co, and black cannot win. If black cannot win, it means that black has to connect here. Otherwise, white will escalate this co. So when black connects over here, we can see that white managed to get this in Sente. So white didn't have to connect here in Gote. Let's look at the difference between this and the actual game. When white connects, this is black's turn, right? So that's the problem. White connects here, it's black's turn to play, and black can play a very big endgame on the outside. But when white plays out like this, we can see that this is white's Sente. So white gets the chance to play a very big move on the outside. By not playing like this, Sungjoon lost an entire move, or almost an entire move. And this is why his win rate went from 90% plus to 7 or 6%, and he's just completely out of this game because of that one single mistake, which is absolutely brutal. I'd say after this game, Sungjoon would just feel very sad about this result, and honestly, it is pretty sad. So yeah, that is how kind of white lost this game, by simply connecting here. And I really can't blame Sungjoon for playing this, because I would definitely have played this without thinking. Many of you probably would have connected here without thinking. And it's just so natural to make such a mistake, but ends up to be fatal. And this is the cruel part about this game. Okay, so at this point, Wang Xinghao managed to block over here and take the very big endgame away from white. And at this point, white is just behind by 1.5 point. And the rest of the endgame didn't matter much. Nothing has really changed. They play out a lot more moves, but they're just like very small endgames. And I won't, because this video is quite long already, and those endgames didn't really matter, so I won't present them. At the end of the game, Wang Xinghao won this game by 1.5 points, and he won the championship.